The GAPS diet is our standard gold standard for autism. And we start there. That often can seem overwhelming to people at first, but it's extraordinary. I've seen full recovery. I've been doing GAPS diet for 25 years. My own nephew and everybody else, I have seen full autism recoveries with that diet alone.
Welcome to Sweet Liberation, where today we are delighted to be joined by a wonderful guest from across the pond, Dr. Stephanie Rimka, who is joining us today as our special guest on the Sweet Liberation podcast. Thank you so much for joining us today, Stephanie.
You froze on me.
That's okay. We just keep going.
Yeah.
It will keep.
So you probably want me to talk. I didn't hear what you said.
Yeah, please go ahead.
I am super excited to be here from Atlanta, Georgia.
From Atlanta, Georgia. Wonderful. From across the pond. We are so delighted to have you here. And yeah, particularly to talk about, I know you're very, very passionate on the subject of what is happening with our health in the world today. And really, we want to extend the red carpet to you to really help to give you the opportunity to speak from your heart on this topic. We have been interviewing people and experts from across the world, and we are finding out so much about what's going on with lifestyle, with nutrition, and with the issue of our health. And we're uncovering a lot on the Sweet Liberation podcast. So tell us how you started on this journey and what is making you so passionate on these topics.
Oh, it's probably been a lifetime. Since I was a little girl, I tried to operate and rescue bugs. I would find wounded snakes and be trying to help them. So we would have 80 jars of bugs and snakes and mice that I was fixing in my animal hospital when I was like 5 years old. So this has been going on a very long time. By the time I went to school and got older, I knew I wanted to take care of people because I thought I would cry too much when the animals died, but I wouldn't care so much about the people. That was my thinking. I couldn't handle my cat dying. So I'm like, yeah, I can't be a vet. I can't handle this. But at 19, I broke my back in a college soccer game, broke a couple ribs, had a concussion, ended up in the hospital. And months later, I ended up partially paralyzed in traction in the hospital for a long time, being told I would never run again, I would never play sports again, and if things didn't go well, I may not walk again. And that journey at 19 to be thrust into the medical system and seeing their answers to things and how I was approached, I wasn't happy with it. And I was pre-med. I was supposed to go to medical school. And I was debating between orthopedic surgery and child psychiatry because I was a triple major in college at that time, biology, psychology, and Spanish. And so my biology teachers were pushing me towards one thing: you should be an orthopedic surgeon, you're big, you're strong, not many women can do this. And the psychology team was like, you should be a child psychiatrist because all the kids are being born addicted to drugs, crack addicts, things like that. They're going to need psychiatric, physical help and all this kind of stuff. And, you'll be one of the few women that does it. They were really pushing that. You'll be one of the few women that, this was 92, 93. Okay. So in that, going through the whole process of recovering myself, of bringing myself back to not only walking, but running and getting on the field again and playing sports again, was years of a journey of re-injury, paralysis, and disappointment in the medical system. My thyroid then crashed. I gained a lot of weight. They had no explanation for this. I was severely depressed, and there was nothing there. And I kept going for help, and there was nothing there except take maybe a drug, but even that they weren't great at. So in that time, I was seeing a chiropractor who was really pounding into me that my body was perfect and there was a vital energy force and I'm more than just a machine. And if I would bring in that resource, I would be able to heal faster, right? I did use a lot of visualization. I was taught visualization as in the 6th grade in school. So I was using that a lot. My psychology professor taught me self hypnosis. So I was using self hypnosis, tremendous visualization to regrow my broken back and my 3 herniated discs and make myself feel and move again. So my mind, the power of my mind was very, very strong in this. At the time, I wasn't aware of how much nutrition and other things were playing in this because this was not really being taught. But I eventually made the decision after working in a mental hospital with schizophrenics to quit the medical journey I had to go into psychiatry. And I actually went to chiropractic school because it was with my chiropractor that my whole mood was shifted and everything I was being taught was really through him, this vitalistic principle that the body is a self-healing, self-regulating organism and I have divine power that made me, and so it does heal me, right? If I just take away the interference, give it what it needs and don't poison it. It seems pretty simple, right? Don't cover a symptom, don't ignore it. You pay attention, and the symptom is a treasure trove. It's a gift. So it's a very different philosophy. So when I realized with him in an aha moment, I was like, wait, the schizophrenics need to be adjusted. And he was like, yes. I said, where do I go? He said, Atlanta. And I moved 6 months later. So I quit what I was doing, that path, no more medical school, and became a chiropractor. In that journey, we do a lot of nutrition. We're taught a lot. And my nephew was diagnosed with autism. And my sister reached out to me and said, I need your help. So I went to school to figure out how to help schizophrenics and, you know, drug addicts and alcoholics because my family was riddled with that. I wanted to save people like my father, who was in prison my whole life. That was my motivation. And in the school, I realized how much nutrition matters, how much this was related to brain inflammation, that mental health was brain based and metabolic chaos was involved. And because of autism, though, I had to learn about neurotoxic injury, deficiencies, genetics, gut involvement. And in that whole process of studying orthomolecular psychiatry, genetics, autism recovery, neurofeedback, I became board certified in that as well. It's all kind of the same. Schizophrenia, autism, bipolar, anxiety, depression, panic attacks, they have a very similar root cause, and that is a central nervous system inflammatory issue and a mitochondrial issue. And at the core of all of it requires settling the metabolic system and the chaos. And food is an incredibly strong driver in either way of inflammation or anti-inflammation. So it's a thing that everybody has to do pretty much, every day or every other day at a bare minimum or something like that, right? They're used to it, they're doing it, they understand it, and they just have been taught poorly. So my job is to basically look at, there's really only 2 big problems I'm ever dealing with. We're dealing with overall nutrient deficiencies or poison toxicity, right? It's all it is. And they go hand in hand. And we have to help the system get enough nutrients and not continue to be poisoned and be able to work efficiently enough to handle the poisons coming in. Because some of the poisons none of us can control, right? There's mercury in the air from the manufacturing plants, right? There's chemicals being sprayed on the crops in the air. There's certain things, you're in your house, paint fumes are coming, unless we are living off in the jungle in a tribal indigenous environment in the Amazon or Siberia. Most of us are being exposed to DDT every day, glyphosate every day, mercury every day. So we have to strengthen the system and support it so it can handle that, right? And my job is food and beauty products, and drugs and vaccines are really big areas we can control, right? About our exposure. Clothing is another one. I mean, I have to bring a lot of things into the system to try and realize you're being poisoned in a lot of ways. But food is one of those that the poison the addiction of food is and alcohol and drinks is encouraged. You know, it's glorified. No one glorifies you becoming a heroin addict, a crack addict, an opioid addict. We bring shame to those things. Even cigarettes now are like, ooh, you know. But beer, wine, cake, cookies, pizza. I mean, there are people on YouTube that make a lot more money than me eating gluttonously right in front of you. Like it's a whole niche. And some of those influencers are dropping dead in their 30s because they're morbidly obese, and the whole system breaks down because of it. But it's a thing that's glorified, right, and encouraged and not seen or treated the same um, as a crackhead.
Amazing, amazing. What an incredible introduction. Thank you so much for sharing your story. I've got so many questions to ask you, but
Okay.
I know that right now that you are running your project. So tell us a little bit about that. I know your backstory and what is your mission? What are you hoping to achieve with this amazing work that you're doing now?
There's so many at this point. So one of them would absolutely be to eradicate the planet of autism, schizophrenia, bipolar, all of these mental health issues that are toxin based. They are an assault to the nervous system. They are not natural. They are not born that way. You are not genetically designed to be like that. It is not neurodivergent. I'm not a fan of the term to hide away someone being poisoned and damaged. It is not okay for children to bang their heads against the wall, to smear their feces on the wall, to bite mom and dad. Not okay. They are not feeling good. They don't, this, you know, these warm and fuzzy stories. I was a Special Olympics soccer coach for many, many years. It's one of the most rewarding things I've ever done. But a lot of these children are struggling. The ones you're seeing doing Special Olympics are a very different group than the ones you see that are locked in a bedroom with nothing but a mattress, and parents changing their diapers at 18 years old, and the parents are in fear of being hurt. They love the child, but they don't want to institutionalize them. This is a real reality that no one's talking about. It's not okay.
No.
So I would love that to be something I help, and I would love, if nothing else, also the mission, people understand mental health is brain health. As your brain goes, so does your behavior. It is a physical issue. Trauma is a physical issue. It is a mitochondrial and nervous system breakdown. It surpasses what the system can handle. And if we don't address the physical reasons of it, we're stuck on the mental aspects, we're never going to heal people. Also, to understand everything can be healed. Your body, I will say the 4-letter word never allowed to say in medicine, you can cure things. Cure should not be a 4-letter word that I could get sued for saying. You know what I'm saying? It's the medical system is the highest amount of gaslighting you can ever imagine. You're never just allowed to say you can cure yourself. It's permanent, it's degenerative, you have a condition, you're just born with it, it's genetic, this is how you are, it runs in the family, right? They don't look at any root cause. You need this drug for the rest of your life. It's constant gaslighting. It's constantly telling you you're broken and defective inherently, and you're dependent upon us forever to cope with symptoms instead of integrate and heal, right? So I find that a disgusting philosophy, and I would like that to be overturned. I would like people to know that they're ultimately powerful and they're co-creators in their own reality, that they are working with a higher source to make things, and they can change anything with their mind and their movement and their action towards what they would desire. That's a big part. I'm moving a lot into women's health, and I'm moving into the power of pleasure to heal trauma. Instead of us focusing on the pain, we should be focusing on what feels good. We've dissociated and numbed out, and food is one of the ways we do that because we're so uncomfortable feeling things. We're afraid to feel the pain, but because we're afraid to feel the pain, we never feel the pleasure, the joy, the bliss, the ecstasy either. So we walk around very fragmented, which always leads then to more mental health problems because nobody is well when they're completely separate. You need to be integrated and coherent. and how we walk around affects everybody else around us. So those are some of the things that I care about. I would love one day to have a giant residential treatment for the people that get, I'm known for taking care of the people that everybody else throws away. I'm like, no, not you're going to be, we're going to get it done.
Yeah.
So I would love a place that was a nonprofit for families with autism, schizophrenia, bipolar, and we can give them the true holistic mind, body, spirit services that they ultimately need. To get many of these things recovered, you have to control everything in the environment. And it's very hard for them to do that in the current pattern that they're living within, in the environment upon which the situation was created. It's very hard to break it there. Lots of influences around. So if I can control everything, I know I can get anybody well from anything.
Amazing.
I would love one day to have that. Off on an island, that's my dream.
We'd like to join you there. We'll swim to you, and we can all have an amazing retreat. That would be fantastic. And obviously, I think we are we blown away by what you just said, and what an inspiring approach to and hopeful approach to our health. To being able to take our health in our hands. I mean, I'm sure Luke also echoes, and we are very much allies with people within the space of bringing people together into a consciousness where they really can have the hope to have that health that they so very much can have. And the more we discover, the more we realize that it is absolutely within our reach. It's very much there within our reach. It's very exciting. So many people in the medical profession now waking up to a new consciousness, a new approach, and a new perspective as well. I think that's one of the things we have been really touched by in the people that we've interviewed over the last 18 months. So tell us, Dr. Rimka, I want to call you Dr. Rimka now, tell us in terms of the issue of overeating of sugar and what you've seen in terms of the health repercussions that is having, particularly with children, because we're very passionate as well about the effect of sugar on children's health. What do you say about that?
Well, it's a primary driver of all learning disorders and all diagnoses that most children are coming in with. So one, I have a real problem with the pediatric and psychiatric approach of diagnosing and medicating children without ever running a single lab or doing a single brain image. I think it should be malpractice that you can diagnose and treat an organ that you've never looked at or measured. So every psychiatric or learning disorder is a brain issue. And yet a pediatrician or a psychiatrist can prescribe a highly addictive psychiatric drug that will alter brain development, mood, sleep, eating habits, growth development, is addictive. You will habituate and attenuate to that drug. Known fact. These are cocaine and amphetamine derivatives. The number one street drug in America is Adderall and Ritalin. So they sell it on college campuses and high school. It's the number one street drug here. It's prescription ADHD drugs. All right. Now, why is that? Because cocaine makes everybody focus better. If I took cocaine, which is Ritalin, I would focus better. Duh. I mean, that's what it does. So, is the kid really cocaine deficient or methamphetamine deficient? I don't think so. So they don't look at the brain. They don't do like a QEEG or a SPECT scan. You could. I do them. You can see right away, is it attention deficit? Is it anxiety? Is it low energy? What is it, right? They don't run any labs. They don't look at, is it just zinc deficiency? Can the kid not make any dopamine because they don't have enough zinc? Are they having anxiety because they can't make any GABA because they don't have any zinc? Zinc is the number one mineral deficiency I see in all mental health issues. Second to that is magnesium. We test for it. We look at it. You can tell. It's not hard. None of this. The brain really only has like 12 to 15 things you need to care about. It's a sequestered area. There's a blood-brain barrier designed to keep things separate. The brain makes all its own cholesterol. The cholesterol floating around in your blood does not go to your brain. This is not how it works. And I don't think people know how the body works. And if the brain ain't right, nothing else is right. Okay? I take a top-down approach. I try to get the brain, the central nervous system, which is controlling everything, working right. And sure enough, your big toe ends up knowing how to function if I deal with this. Okay? So, talking about food and nutrition, children are being poisoned to death. They're being fed garbage, empty calories, right, in the form of sugars and fructose. Fructose is metabolized, fruit juice and fruit stuff, that's what that is exactly like giving a child alcohol as far as its liver is concerned. Fructose is thought of in the body as a poison. Poisons must go to the liver to be dealt with and addressed. Glucose does not do that. So you have sugar from some glucose just goes in the blood now. You're only supposed to have a teaspoon of glucose floating around your body at all times in your bloodstream. 1 teaspoon. How many teaspoons of sugar are in a donut, are in a juice, are in a candy bar, are in pizza, are in bagels, are in croissants? Tablespoons upon tablespoons. So when the bloodstream gets full of beyond the teaspoon, it's seen as a medical emergency to the body. So everything has to stop, so it has to deal with it. So that's just an overview, but let's talk about how a baby develops. Let's talk about a baby. I had a baby in my belly come out of me. Okay, he's 18 now. What happens in the human body? What is going on? I'm feeding that child right through my placenta for a long time, and it's swimming around in a sea of salt water. Okay, comes out, finally has to, which is the weirdest thing, that we like live in water for like 10 months. Don't you think that's the wildest
I'm a
stuff?
midwife. Yes.
A fish, and then we come out and breathe air. And there's this whole like weird thing that has to go on. Like, what? I'm like, so strange. I'm fascinated. Like, this is how we did it. Why was this a good idea for a mammal? And we're all the same, right? So anyway, I constantly, it's the weirdest design. So we come out, and what is that baby designed to do? If we're in the wild and Luke was my husband or whatever, or he my baby daddy, if I drop dead, the baby's going to die because Luke can't do anything for that baby. He can't. It's dying like, well, if she can't make it and there's not some other woman with some milk coming out of her breasts, the baby's done because he can't do anything about it, right? So I'm built and ready to feed that baby. I breastfed my son for 3 years. You know what my breast milk has? Perfect nutrition for a developing brain.
Correct.
What is the breast milk? A bunch of medium chain fatty acids, slightest little bit of glucose, and a bunch of cannabinoids, actually, CBD. Okay? Bunch of fat, medium chain fatty acids. What it is breast milk? Highly ketogenic. Infants are on a ketogenic diet, extreme ketogenic. They're in deep, incredible ketosis. Why? Because the brain loves ketones. The brain and the heart prefer to use ketones, which are a byproduct of metabolizing fat, medium chain fatty acids, more than anything else. They do not prefer to run on sugar. We keep 1 teaspoon available. That's it. For quick, fast, immediate energy, rapid processing. Yes, the brain uses glucose. It also uses fatty acids and ketones. And there's there's a few parts of the brain, but let me just break it down really simple. I'm not sure if viewers will see this. Inside here, my hand is like the emotional limbic, we say lizard brain, but primitive emotional. I think it's beautiful because it's fear, fight or flight, survival, all this other, but it's also falling in love. Okay, so let's not throw the baby out with the bathwater right here. I like the emotional brain. However, because falling in love is a stupid thing to do, so it's in there with emotions. Like, this is not a smart idea to fall in love with this asshole and have sex, and nothing's logical about it. So it's put in the irrational place. Otherwise, we would never do it. All right. So this top here, that's the cortex. That's the rational prefrontal, the whole cortical part of us that takes up until about 26 years old to develop. And why kids do dumb things is because they don't have this integrated, like in a lot of 40-year-old men too. I'm like, what are you doing? Can you bring your brain back online? So this top cortical part loves fatty acids and ketones. This part loves sugar. So if I flood the body with sugar, flood the brain with sugar, it's very hard to bring your cortex online. It's going to override because now I've just activated. So, what does all the sugar do to a child? Activates their limbic system, their emotional, manipulative, explosive, panicky, fight and flight, fear, type of brain. So they don't think well. They have no choice. You did it to them. Trying to ask them, calm yourself down. Was that a good decision? Trying to make them sit in a classroom and listen or study something that requires, future planning, impulse control. They can't do it. And you did it to them. So as soon as we feed that baby the first food, and if you make it be rice cereal or some cereal or a french fry or a bite of your donut, you flipped them from a ketogenic state, deep ketosis, and you flip them into now a sugar burner. And they're going to stop burning primarily that, and they're going to activate a different part of the brain. You're going to change development. So the first food anybody should be giving their baby is like a raw egg yolk, salmon eggs, raw salmon roe or caviar, fish or beef, something like that. First perfect foods, because you will keep them in deep ketosis and you're feeding what the brain is, more fat, medium chain fatty acids, cholesterol, and saturated fat. A human brain is 70% animal cholesterol and saturated fat. So the first food, they should never be a plant, should never be applesauce. It's the dumbest first food to ever give a baby. And it's even dumber to give them fruit because it's fructose and it must go to the liver and it's metabolized like alcohol in an adult. But they can't process it the same way. It has to be dealt with. It changes what goes on in their bloodstream and it causes inflammation instantly. But no one's taught that. And their pediatricians are telling them fruit juice, applesauce, rice cereal, instead of the primary proper human diet, which is animal based. What every indigenous tribe on the earth for thousands and thousands and tens of thousands of years have all eaten is an animal based diet with very little plants. Plants were used as medicine in small amounts.
Amazing, amazing. So I think, well, I echo everything you said. I'm a midwife, so background in women's health for 2 decades. So very much agree with everything you said, particularly about breastfeeding, prolonged breastfeeding, the benefits of that. I think the
And they're gaslighting women to tell them like that's not a good thing.
That's right.
I mean, believe it or not, like it's considered offensive for me to say breast milk is superior to formula.
Oh,
That's supposedly offensive now. I'm like, that's just a fact. I'm not insulting women who work or whatever your choices are, but I'm not going to live in non-reality land. That's not actual biological fact.
That's correct.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So I couldn't echo that more. I mean, what do you think, Luke? I mean, you
Yeah,
very much in support of women and breastfeeding and a physiological kind of approach to rearing children. You're really passionate on this, aren't you?
yeah, definitely. And I there's also a bit more to it as well. And they've done studies, and actually they say that the eye connection.
We can't hear you, Luke. Just come closer to the computer. Just turn your
The
volume up.
microphone is on. Can you hear me now?
Take the microphone out and just use your computer.
Let me just check that what's happening with that. Sorry about this.
That's okay. Can you say something? You've disappeared now altogether.
I see him.
Yeah, I see him. No, he's there, but we can't hear him. No. Oh, you're on mute. That's why, Luke. Unmute yourself. You've muted yourself by mistake.
That should be there. Am I there now? Can you hear me now?
Yes. Yes.
Yes, right, great. Sorry about that. I don't know what happened there, but yes, there's another thing I think with the breastfeeding as well is that I was going to say between the mother and the baby, actually, when the baby's feeding, there's actually a connection. They've done studies as well, and they've actually said that children, my son or my littlest was fed for about 4 years, and and one of the studies at the time was talking about that connection between mother and child through that process as well, and he did very well on it, and I mean it was one of the things that he didn't want to stop, and I always think there's that. I don't know how anybody decides. I mean, I've done quite a lot of farming, And I can see that sheep sometimes get fed up with the little ones, and they say, "No, you can go away. You've had enough." And where the mothers are suddenly starting to look like coat hangers because the little ones have sucked almost the living daylights and everything out of these ewes. And so I see it a lot within the animal world, but as I say, I'm not sure quite how what happens in the human space in terms of when people know what is the right time. You'll probably be able to tell me, Nabila.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Average
you're
is
very
5 years.
yes, you're very quiet. So I'll let Dr.
Oh, sorry.
Dr. Rimka just answer that. But I think you were a bit quiet there, Luke.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's so the average worldwide average is 5 years old. I mean, it's very
Right.
normal to continue to now, and a woman can breastfeed 2, 3 kids at the same time. And we actually have the innate intelligence that the breast will actually change the quality and content of the milk for the child. So just like a kangaroo can do the same thing. So you can nurse multiple joeys and it'll know this is for the 2-month-old, this is for the 3-year-old. The breasts will have a different output because it's just constantly changing output.
Right.
And your system knows which child it is and you can smell it and feel it. And yeah, a baby only sees a very small range physically. The eyesight only goes, it is designed that it's because
Right.
the only thing a baby cares about is my face. All the rest of you can go to hell. The baby does not care about grandma, really, daddy. It's very sweet that daddy, I'm like, baby doesn't care about you. It's designed to be touching my body all times and to be able to see from our eyes,
Yeah.
mirror neurons are going off. It is what it's designed to do.
Mm.
And there's definitely a lot of studies if a baby can't see a mother's face or my face is stressed out, like a child is a straight empath.
Yeah.
They're saying we are the same body for 10 months. So you're the same being. It knows no separation. That child kind of doesn't know till about 7 years old, 6 or 7, that it's even a separate person from the mother. That's
Oh,
why as mama is, the baby is. So it's incredibly important when I deal with a child that's with autism or something like that. I often have to stop and make sure I care for mother first because the stress of a high needs, special needs child is extraordinary on her.
mm.
And they get in a pattern of martyrdom and they don't take care of themselves and they don't understand that he, most likely it's a boy, is feeling everything she's feeling and they think it's them. So if you're stressed out, you're always worried, you don't know how to take care of yourself, that child it's the child, the babies and the animals in the house are going to tell you everything that's going on in the house.
Wow.
You can lie all you want if your marriage is bullshit. The dog that's puking or the baby that's they're going to tell you the truth. So
Right.
you listen and watch what's happening there.
Yeah.
Their symptoms, their bodies are telling you. The nonverbal children still tell me what's going on in the house. I can see it through them. So you have to address the family to deal with this whole situation in a situation like that. So I say all that to say,
Wow.
it is incredibly important. And the benefit of that to me, the hormonal release, oxytocin, is a wonder drug. It is the most potent, powerful wonder drug. I prescribe oxytocin to my patients all the time because there are 2 classes of people that are consistently low in oxytocin production per all the studies, schizophrenics and autistic children.
Right.
So they need more oxytocin. You can't bond without it. Why can't they make eye contact? They don't have oxytocin. Well, I have it in my refrigerator right now. I can just spray it up their nose. I can microdose oxytocin and help them calm down, lower anxiety, be able to have eye contact, create some compassion, learn to activate their mirror neurons that have put themselves in the place of empathy with someone else, have better sex and better orgasms, eat less food. Oxytocin lowers your appetite. So people who are not hugging, touching, kissing, having sex, having orgasms, eat more food because they're hungrier because they don't have oxytocin. So
Right.
start dating more, get a massage. I'm really also exhausted of everybody talking about oxytocin, about pet a dog. How about you have sex? I'm a huge fan of more sex in the world. So there's a lot that goes into it. And that's why I do a lot of peptide therapy and helping people explaining that experience. I was like high like a kite when I was breastfeeding my son. I would like literally, my ex-husband would joke. He's like, you look like you're on heroin when you do that. I was like, huh? I don't even know. Like, why anybody wouldn't want that feeling, I have no idea. It was amazing. I just was like drunk all the time. It just makes you sleep. I mean, so,
Yeah.
but women are being lied to by the community
Mhm.
and, railroaded into, you need to be an independent worker and all this other dumb stuff. And it's like, oh my God, like motherhood and taking the time to do that. I didn't work for 6 years when I had my son. It was the best time of my life.
Oh,
So, um, so I think there's a strong movement towards honoring motherhood again, though, right now. Like
Amazing.
the last few years, the whole scamdemic thing has made a lot of people wake up and go, this isn't really important. The things we're focusing on are pretty stupid.
yeah.
Yeah.
And it's making people look to the environment again and go, how did we, like, if you look at, like, how did your great grandma live? You'd be better off going back to some of that stuff. And
Mm.
it didn't mean you don't have to have heat, but she probably was making her own butter. She might have had a cow. She probably had chickens. They weren't buying anything frozen. There were no convenience foods. And if they made cake a couple times a year, not a couple times a week. You know what I mean?
Mm.
So they ate 5 pounds of sugar a year, not 5 pounds every other day, like we're doing. So there's a huge difference. And they were just setting our children up to be addicts, drug addicts to the sugar. It's highly addictive. So what's happening is you're causing these explosions of dopamine in the system, cortisol and dopamine. And because you keep doing it so much, the system attenuates and you blow out the receptors, and then you can't make it because, again, you need zinc, and the sugar's stripping zinc and magnesium. You need magnesium and zinc and B vitamins to make all these things, and the sugar strips and depletes that. So even if you eat something good, if you add sugar and alcohol to it, you're going to deplete that even more. So now we have to supplement, right? It's like you can't, and you can never out supplement a really deficient diet. You just can't. But if you even eat good food, like a great ribeye, but then you throw a poison on top of it, I still have a problem because
Yeah.
now I just took away the nutrients and I got to add more stuff to deal with the poisons, but these kids are being generally don't even have enough cholesterol to build a brain, much less build the higher organized centers of the brain. Cholesterol is the backbone of everything. Cholesterol is the backbone of every cell, every hormone, every receptor. And they're saying dumb things like limit your eggs because of cholesterol. Mothers, you should be loving cholesterol. What is the brain? Cholesterol and saturated fat. It's butter, egg yolks, steak, oysters, shrimp. That's the brain. You need DHA like crazy.
Yeah.
My only concern with fish is all the plastic in it now. I'm not even concerned about the heavy metals. It's the plastic that's harder. So salmon roe, the eggs. Pro tip that those eggs, it has the perfect phospholipid form of omega-3 DHA that goes right into the brain, has no heavy metals, has no microplastics. If you can get that baby, they like to pop them like candy. They're like, and if they like the taste of it, you'll just watch that brain light up. You'll have one of the smartest children ever if you can get a baby egg yolks and salmon roe.
That's
And
amazing.
can I ask
I
you a
am
question?
blown away. I'm actually quite pleased because my youngest, one of her first meals was salmon, and she was just like a mega salmon freak. She loved it. She stuffed her face with it, and she adored it. So tell us, parents listening to this, and I know I very much come from a very physiological and sort of point of view on pregnancy, motherhood, breastfeeding, wherever possible and however possible, introducing the biologically sound pathway to these things. But we know we're living such a fragmented life, so very difficult to be able to implement. So do you have some tips for that? A lot of people with children with autism, neurodiversity, or have questions whether their children are in the process of getting diagnosis. What can they do today, right now, to help themselves in their family? We know if they're listening to this podcast, it's because they know that sugar is a problem. They're going into their cupboards, they're getting rid of all of that. What do you say to parents are things that where can they start on this journey in terms of giving the best nutrition they can afford to their children who they might think might need maybe a bit of help or have already been diagnosed.
She froze, but I
Froze
think
up.
she finished, right?
Mhm.
I'll wait. I'll wait till she comes on. Okay.
Come back.
Best advice, kind of where to start off.
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
So, two things. One, I will say the parent needs to start with themselves. They need to do their own self parenting and their own emotional and personal development. Because if you are making decisions from a wounded 7-year-old yourself, you're going to continue to make bad choices because you don't have any control or self restraint, or you're stuffing your own face to deal with unresolved emotions or issues. So it is critical, and you can't expect a parent to suddenly become emotionally mature just because they had a child, right? So if you have eating habits or drinking habits or things that you are seeking out things to cover up feelings, to numb out, to dissociate because you can't handle things, go get some help, right? It's go talk to somebody. Start investigating why that. If you're walking around with 100 pounds on you, most likely you're going to develop a child that has an extra 100 pounds. You're going to turn them into a type 2 diabetic by the time they're 10 years old. That's really unacceptable. Then we know they're going to, maybe get their foot cut off by the time they're 20. Then we know they're going to have anxiety and depression. We know they probably have a heart attack by the time they're 35. That is unacceptable. It is 100% coming from what a parent buys for a child to put in their mouth. But if the parent is making decisions like a wounded 10-year-old, there's only so much I can do. So one, I would say take some responsibility and up level yourself, because your children are absorbing everything that you are experiencing. You can think you're hiding it all you want. You are not. So it is a time for you to look at some personal development. There's courses you can take, there's books you can buy, there's online groups, there's all kinds of amazing things at this point. Now, when it comes down to some education, one, I'll say you want to go for a low insulin driving, low blood sugar type diet. The easiest is to make it be, it's meat based. We say just a meat based diet. Now, if you want to get more complicated, my favorite approach is the GAPS diet by Dr. Natasha Campbell McBride. She's over there with you guys. She's a genius. The GAPS diet is our standard gold standard for autism. And we start there. That often can seem overwhelming to people at first, but it's extraordinary. I've seen full recovery. I've been doing GAPS diet for 25 years. My own nephew and everybody else, I have seen full autism recoveries with that diet alone. Okay. Now, I'm not saying you're going to do that. I like to stack that with neurofeedback. I say you look up neurofeedback, find a board certified practitioner. Marty Wutke, I believe, is in England, and he's a genius. So if he's there, I'd find that. I think he came over to Europe. He's somebody who trained me here in Georgia, but he moved to England, I believe. But look up neurofeedback. It's extraordinary at changing the structure and function of the brain. But you have to have good nutrition. And that is what I just said: cholesterol, saturated fat, and protein. The human body is animal protein, animal fat, and minerals. There's only 2,000 calories of carbohydrates in it in the form of a little bit of glucose and a little bit of glycogen stored in the muscles and liver. You don't need. There are essential fatty acids and essential amino acids. That means we have essential fats we must eat. We have essential proteins we must eat. There is no such thing as an essential carbohydrate. Your body never needs to eat a carbohydrate in its life, and it can have optimal health. There are millions of people who live this way and have lived this way forever. They wouldn't know what a pancake was if you threw it up against their head, because they've never seen one. They don't shop in grocery stores. They hunt and fish. That's all they do. And in Siberia, there are no vegetables to forage. It's snow. And the average lifespan of two tribes up there, 140 years old.
Wow.
They're carnivores. So I love the GAPS diet. I also love the carnivore diet. I use carnivore a lot in autism, MS, Crohn's, ulcerative colitis, irritable bowel syndrome, schizophrenia. The Russians have been doing this a very long time, decades and decades and decades. They just didn't call it carnivore. It's just animal based. Yeah. And even the GAPS diet has a strong carnivore angle now. So you want to start there. I never make a child eat a vegetable. They don't need to eat them. They don't do anything for them. Who cares if they don't like them for a reason, because they're disgusting and they're full of anti-nutrients. Who gives a crap if they want broccoli? They want the salmon. So give them a variety of meat, eggs, fish to try. Let them learn to cook with you. Have them eat that first. I may say eat all the protein first. And the protein has the fat. Cook it in a ton of butter, duck tallow, beef tallow. Don't use any seed oils. Do not use soybean oil. Do not use canola oil. That is weaving itself into the neurological matrix, and it's causing short circuiting. It's like putting bad wire. Your wires in the house should be copper. It's like somebody comes in and every now and then puts aluminum instead. So you wonder why the lights are flickering sometimes. That's what seed oils are doing inside the nervous system. They're causing seizures. They're causing ADHD. They're causing anxiety and panic. Every fast food meal is cooked in a seed oil. Every restaurant is cooking in a seed oil. So I would encourage you to start cooking. Get a crock pot, get an air fryer. You can put a frozen food in the air fryer and the thing will be done in 5 minutes. Put a chunk of meat with some broth, salt and pepper, some onions because it flavors it in a crock pot. 8 hours later, it's delicious. Okay. All that other food people are doing is because of money. It's peasant food. They've convinced you potatoes and rice and bread are good for you. No, they're not. So buy the meat on sale. If you can invest by going to a farmer and buying a quarter cow or a half cow or going in with 4 neighbors and getting a whole cow and having a freezer, that is the cheapest way to get meat. You just need the money up front, but one cow will feed a family of 4 all year long.
Yeah.
One death will feed everybody all year. That's it.
Yeah.
You have a freezer full of it, you're good to go. Okay. So that's what people don't understand. The convenience food is nothing calories. It's way more expensive actually. But you can find the meat on sale. You can go to, I don't know if you guys have like Costco, Sam's Club. We have warehouses and stuff that get it on sale. You go in and be like, what's the sale meat? And you look for the specials. Okay. That's the half price. Buy whatever's on sale. Get the eggs. I know everything has gone up here. The eggs have, but if I have chickens. I invested in chickens. If you want some chickens, it's not like it's cheap, but it's not $10 a dozen. So I would start there. GAPS diet. If you want more information, look at carnivore. I'm telling you, and believe it or not, you need to eat less food than you realize because the system is looking for nitrogen. So if you're eating cakes and donuts and pizza and whatever, it's going to keep being hungry for 2 reasons. You're spiking glucose and spiking insulin. Insulin's job is to store energy and store fat. So it keeps storing fat, storing energy, and it actually makes you hungry. Then you have this drop. So it's a big problem in itself, but then you don't have enough nitrogen. You're looking for the protein. The body has a protein limit it's trying to hit because it needs protein. What is bone? Protein. What is muscle? Protein. What is my skin? Protein. My teeth? Protein. This is all protein. This is not a carbohydrate. Do you know how hard it is to turn this into this from broccoli? It's very hard. It requires an obscene amount of enzymes, an obscene amount of minerals and fat. It's too hard. Why would I waste all my energy doing that? Just eat the meat and so I can convert it very quickly. So it's looking for the protein, the amino acids, the essential amino acids that you must get from eating meat. And then the nitrogen. That's a nitrogen hypothesis theory. So it's going to keep being hungry until it gets it. Well, it's amazing when people they eat one big steak and a few eggs. I don't need to eat all day. A lot of people eat one time a day because they're full. The average American in 1950 ate 1.5 meals a day because they were farming. They had a huge, big meal and a one little snack. I don't need it anymore. And why is that? Because they had all the nutrients they needed. Plus they're running on their fat from ketones. They're burning fat. Most people don't need to eat for 10, 15 days. I've had patients I fasted. The longest water fast I've ever taken a patient through, I think, was 5 months. Wow. You got 100 pounds on you. You don't need to eat food. You got a whole refrigerator on you. You got a freezer full of fat, full of energy. What do you need to eat for?
It's amazing.
Right? So I'm just giving you an idea. People, you know what I mean? They get so worried. Oh, but he won't eat. Let me be real clear. No child is going to starve himself. So they give him chicken nuggets or a piece of pizza. I'm like, They're not going to starve themselves. They just manipulated you. Little children are they're limbic brains, pure emotion, and they're masters of manipulation. They played you. You got played by a 2-year-old. Who's in charge? Who is in charge? What do you mean you went to McDonald's? What? Are you 50 or are you 5? Be a grown up. How about that? There's my.
Yeah.
I love it. I love it. You giving us some tough love, but we're loving it. And a big juicy steak. I'm getting hungry now, Luke. I need to go and get some food. That's amazing. That's amazing. That's fun. So this we believe, as we're finding out more and more, the solutions are very simple. They're at our fingertips. They're right in front of us, but we've been gaslit to think that the solutions are very complicated. And that's the bit that you and I share the most in this particular discussion. And I could go on about women's health all day long, but the gaslighting, the institutional gaslighting is a big bugbearer. And you have just completely destroyed the argument of complexity right there.
Yeah, it doesn't need to be. Listen, especially kids, ground up some ground beef, throw a little cheese on it. I mean, I'm sometimes I just have hot dogs and cheese. Because I'm like, what is complicated? Like you're making this harder on yourself than you need to. And kids don't care. And let them eat with their fingers and stop making it such a thing. You know what I mean? So I would start with that. And then let me add the other parts. Nutrition is everything going into the system, not just food. It is the music you're listening to, the screens you're watching, the light you're in. Are they outside in sunlight? You know what sunlight gives you? It gives you electrons. You've been lied to. You do photosynthesis, basically. Our body does the same thing as a plant. We make energy from sunlight. People who are in the sun eat less food. Let your kids be outside in the sun. Take their shirts off. Let them run around barefoot on the grass. You know what you get from the ground? You get electrons. The same thing. It's straight free energy. What runs through a mitochondria that makes all the ATP? The electron transfer chain. It's not a fat acid train. It's not a carbohydrate train, protein. It's electrons. Electrons travel on a photon of light. So are they having crappy lights from indoor lighting all day in a shitty school? Sorry, I swore. Or in your house, nasty fluorescent halogen bulbs? Are they getting photons of light from the sun? This is underrated. The sun is a nutrient. It is not out to kill you. The idea that the sun is giving you cancer is the most asinine, insane, gaslighting, ridiculous statement on earth. It makes all life exist. It charges everything. We are alive because of the power of the sun. Yet you want to tell people to slather on carcinogenic chemicals, bake it into their skin with the suns, and say, oh, that's what's aging you. I'm 51 years old. I've never used sunscreen. I don't have anything done to my face. I eat a crap ton of meat and I drive a convertible. I want as much sun as I possibly can get, because it makes me younger. They're lying to you. They've lied about almost everything. Do the opposite of what the government says. Okay, so let your children play. Let them go outside.
Amen. Amen.
Turn off the TV. I haven't owned a TV in 30 years. How about you don't have money for food? Why don't you sell your TV?
Sure.
I don't carry a $5,000 purse, but I have steak in my house.
Yeah.
It's a value choice. I mean,
Oh my goodness, we could talk about. Now you talked about outdoor play. You've opened up the door to forest schools now, education. We could be talking all day, Dr. Rimka. We love you. We love
you. Down with the system.
Do this. And Luke, I know your microphone is being a bit dodgy. Have you got anything you can maybe come a bit closer and tell us? Any other comments questions you wanted to ask before we close?
Yeah, I was checking actually. Yeah, no, is it? You can hear me all right? Can you hear me?
A little
bit.
No, very loud.
Yeah, I don't know why it's not loud. I'm really close to it. I'll have a look at this in a second. But as I say, the microphone.
Yeah, we can hear you now.
Anyway, Okay, cool. Well, everything there really resonates with us, and I mean the things that you've been talking about there, and the things that we've kind of discovered over the last 6 months, whether it's to do with listening at walking bare feet on the grass. That's something I've only heard very recently. I've even bought myself a little one of these plunge pool type things setups because I was thinking, oh, I might do some of that.
Cold water.
Yeah, is it 40 degree or 50 degree? I don't know what the conversion is into
Just
Fahrenheit.
cold.
Oh, 10 degrees, yeah. And so in centigrade. And so doing a bit of that. So all of these things. And what we talk about, in fact, which I think is interesting, is that it's also like a multifaceted approach. So that if you're having the right nutrients, the right sunlight, you're checking that you've got the right, you're feeding your body and you're not deficient in anything, and a lot of those things. And once you actually start putting the jigsaw together, you actually and start learning more about it. It becomes a snowball, and it's something I have felt very much that I've wanted to do more and more of. And actually, as you get better at it, it's like a perpetuating cycle, isn't it? You want to get fitter, you want to improve your health, you want to start eating properly, and then it becomes infectious for everybody else. Exactly as everything that you've said is, and I know our podcast listeners are going to love everything you've said because it is very infectious.
Yeah. Very infectious. Your energy is infectious. We love you for it.
Yeah.
Oh, thank you. And that's a phrase I teach a lot, and I explain it whether I'm with patients, with students, or even I train a lot of doctors and business people to make more money. And it's all neurology to me. It's all marketing is neurology. Autism is neurology. There's all the same information. And I don't usually say infectious, but I say, but it is, right? I'm like, winning begets winning.
Yes.
You avalanche, and like dopamine, it's addictive. Everything is addictive. Winning is addictive. Losing is addictive. Anger is addictive. Fear is addictive. So by constantly re-stimulating an emotion, you become addicted to it. So I sometimes what I have to do is break up a holding pattern of somebody who might be stuck in being a victim. They get a secondary benefit from their illness or their food addiction or something like that. We have to deal with that. And I have to break that up and offer something else as a treat to the system. And once I move you into winning begets winning. It's an avalanche, right? So I have to hit that dopamine. You can get dopamine from porn, you can get it from cookies, or you can get it from an accomplishment, from cleaning your room, from folding laundry, from shoveling a driveway of snow. You can get it from writing a book, or you can make it real easy from being on TikTok. You know what I'm saying? So I have to teach that, but it absolutely is. So if people are coming to me, they're on a downward spiral. I have to put a stopgap some kind of way and redirect and cause a change. And I have to use everything in my power to do it. And I use a tremendous amount of everything. It's a mind. I'm writing a lecture I'm doing this weekend on trauma, and it's really mind, body, spirit, or mental, physical energy that I'm always dealing with, however the words are. That is my entire approach. I have to have the mental aspect. I have to have the physical soma I'm dealing with, which is a lot of fascia work and brain stuff. And that's where, talk therapy is obsessed with the mind. They for like trauma, they ignore the other two. The doctors are obsessed with the physical, and they don't think about the mind or the energy. The woo-woo world, let's say, is only in the energy, and they want to act like, let's just work on the field and we don't have to do any of this. I do it all. I address it all. And energy for me is anything that's not visible, and it goes beyond chi and prana and what's in the auric field. It is the electricity running through your house. It is the pulse magnetic fields running through your house. It is all the non-native EMF. It is how many devices are in your child's bedroom. Do they have ADHD, or do they just have a sleep disorder because you designed their room to be toxic poison to the nervous system?
Oh.
Yeah. Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? That's what I have to figure out for a family.
Yeah, amazing. Well, we are so inspired by, first of all, your energy, the confidence in which you speak, and the inspiration or just simplicity of where we can all start. I think we have so much to take away from this talk. We can't wait to have you back, because I think this conversation has just begun. We've just started the conversation. Amazing, amazing. Do you have any closing words that you would like to leave our listeners with? Already, you've blown our minds. You've inspired us. We know we have some actionable steps that we can go away and try. But are there any closing words that you would like to inspire our listeners with, and also tell us how we can reach out to you in the work that you do?
Sure. Well, one, if you stayed this far, thank you. And you should be very proud of yourself for choosing to invest your time and energy to learn, to get better, to try and make yourself better, your children's lives better, your husband's or your wife's lives better, your grandkids' lives better. I honor you for that. That's the mission I'm on. I want to be better today than I was yesterday. And if you just focus on a 1% increase every day, I promise you, you'll get where you need to go. You're not going to make a 25% leap in 1 hour or 1 day or a week. Be kind, give yourself patience. Know in the healing journey, it is not linear. There is not a point A to point B. It's not going to be a straight line. But if you're making a 1% improvement, do what you can. Start where you can start. You can't do everything overnight. So pick something. Start with food, maybe the first month. Start with beauty products the next month. Start with, laundry products the next month. Do at the pace that you can handle to start making and incorporating a change into your life that just becomes a lifestyle. I don't even think about the way I live. And I'm like, oh, I haven't used deodorant in 30 years. It hasn't crossed my mind because it's been so long. It's just a part of who I am. I don't have Tylenol or drugs in my house because I don't use them, and I haven't used them in decades. I don't have to think about that. But you may not go that extreme, but this is my vocation. This is my life. So what can you do? We want the small levers that are going to, swing the big doors. And food is a huge one. Light is a big one. Proper sleep, bedtime, honoring that is huge. Play, movement. Don't underestimate play for the children and for the adults. More laughter, more play outside. Nature is the ultimate teacher. Everything you can do, you're cold plunging because you're just mimicking, you'd be in nature and you'd be cold sometime. That's all. Saunas is just mimicking nature. You'd be outside working the field sweating. You're just mimicking it, so you don't have to go and turn off all your electricity and throw away your refrigerator and air conditioning, but try to bring nature into it and realize, there's a stress on the body for driving a car and being on a plane. None of these things are natural. Computers aren't natural. Cell phones aren't natural. The body doesn't know what those things are. And there's a biological toll you're taking. So as simple as you can take it, especially for children, they like simple. They want good nutrition, and nutrition for them is good food, steak, eggs, fish, and hugs and kisses and laughter and movement and play. That's all they want from you. They could care less about what you're buying for them. They want you to be silly and tell stories, and you really can keep it simple. So one, thank you for caring enough to go this long and try to get better, because I think it matters. Every person that's trying to increase their own frequency and their resonance and be more centered and have more inner peace, that is the only way we're going to align and have more of that in the world. I can't fix anybody, do anything to anybody except myself. I can only control me. And the people who come to me, I'm only there to help teach and guide them to control themselves. I heal no one, they heal themselves. Okay. So you can find me. My website is drrimka.com. I'm the only Stephanie Rimka in the world. It's a very rare name. I am on Instagram at Dr_Rimka. You can give them that. I do a lot of free stuff on Instagram. That's my primary platform. I'm also a little bit on YouTube and stuff, but Instagram is just the easiest thing for me to do. Tons of free stuff. I offer courses that people can, very affordable ways to get a hold of me are through courses. I have people take them all over the world. I have Facebook groups then and communities and subscriptions. I meet people every week on Zoom. You can ask me questions. I offer courses ranging from carnivore to visualization to peptides to biohacking science. So trauma. I cover a lot of different things, and I have courses that are designed. Some are only for women and some are co-ed. And yeah, that's a big one. I do retreats and other things too. That'll be on my website when I do another one. The last one I did was a South African safari, but they're healing retreats. There's going to be trauma release and sound therapy and things like that. Yeah, those are the big ways to get a hold of me.
Fantastic. Brilliant.
Amazing. Thank you so, so much, Dr. Rimka. It's been an absolute pleasure to have you on the Sweet Liberation today. And we are really honored, and we hope that you will come back because your energy is infectious. We would love to have you back and continue this conversation with you. Thank you so, so much. And I'm sure our listeners will be reaching out to you and be fascinated by everything you've said today and following you on your social media channels. Thank you so, so much for being our guest, our special guest on the Sweet Liberation today. Thank you so much, and bye for now.